Is get you. It's your boy Ty back here with another video, and in this video today, guys, we're going to be going over and ranking our top small forwards in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM on a tier list. Now, before we do that, I do want to say, if you have any of these top small forwards, Giannis, KG, Lou All Day, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen, I mean, look, run them. Run them. Adam Morrison, Sean Kemp, Jason Tatum, run them. Run them, run them, run them. I don't know what else you want me to say. If a card's behind gambling and it's a dark matter, run them. You want me to rank these cards, even Rudy G. Run them. Those are going to be some of your top cards in the entire game. Me ranking them on a tier list when all of them would be S tier, what is the point? Now, one thing I am going to do is S tier and A tier. I'll rank those cards because a lot of people have been wanting me to do that. Like seeing, oh, well, Ty, if it's between, Adam Morrison and AK, who is better? I'll rank those top couple of tiers just because a lot of people do want to see where they do stack up specifically. So that's something I will do. Let's start off here with Pink Diamond Adam Morrison. Pink Diamond Adam Morrison is still really solid. In salary cap, he wasn't super crazy expensive, so I did actually use him while grinding for my salary cap. Buddy Hield last week, and he was fine. Adam Morrison can play at a decent level. Obviously, no longer that top tier, but still is really good. Poku, really good too. Poku, 42,000 MT, and he's still really, really solid for that. Look, 7 feet tall, can shoot lights out. Obviously, offensively, not going to give you a whole ton on the court outside of just that catch-shoot situation. But defensively, remember, he's 7 feet tall, and that alone is going to provide you some value on the court. Next up, guys, AK-47. I do think AK-47 is still really solid. I think he's a step below. So if these guys are B tier, I think AK-47 is C tier, and that's fine. Like, C tier is still fine for AK-47. We can't sit there and hate on that. Andrew Wiggins, even at that small forward position, A tier. Not S tier, in my opinion, at the small forward position, just because I think there are cards that are a little bit better. But Andrew Wiggins is still really solid for what you guys need at either the small forward or shooting guard position. Anton Jamison, I know he does a lot for you on the court, and I know he is pretty complete, but, I mean, that release is really bad. And I'm not just trying to sit here and hate on Anton Jamison, because as far as the rest of the card, he can hoop. Offensively, really isn't even that bad. But that release is really bad, and it needs to be talked about. Like, that release, not a release I would wish upon anybody. Tubby Walker at this point, D tier. I am going to keep Anton Jamison at C tier because I don't think the card's totally worthless. Tubby Walker's bad. I mean, he is just not good in my team. Blake Griffin, I'm going to go B tier. I don't think he's as good as Andrew Wiggins, but I still think, he's solid. He is a Galaxy Opal, so people are going to have their own opinions on, Blake Griffin isn't that good. He was available, I do believe, via the Easter agenda. If you did complete that, obviously, you got a ball drop, and Blake Griffin was on that. So, if you got Blake Griffin, he is solid. He's solid. That's all there really is to say about him. Is he the best small forward in the game? No, but if you have him, you absolutely can run the card. Next up, guys, Boris Diaw. I don't like his jump shot. I don't think the card's totally worthless. I actually think he's kind of a complete card, but I just don't like the jump shot. Is he better than Anton Jamison? I don't even think so. I'll take Anton Jamison over the card. Brandon Ingram, the small forward position, still going to go C tier. I think he's better at the 2 than the 3, but even at the 2, I'm not very high on Brandon Ingram, so how am I supposed to be high on him at the 3? It just doesn't make sense to me. To me, C tier for the card. Brandon Miller, I don't know. A tier maybe. Like, again, I like him more at that, more at the shooting guard position. At the small forward position, he's fine. A tier, probably take him over everybody at B tier, but I'm just not the biggest fan of the card. Scalabrine stinks. D tier. Like, if you got Scalabrine, look to replace him. There are some really solid budget small forwards at this stage in my team. Scal is just fine. If you want to run him, you can, but he is not very good. Chandler Parsons, I'm putting him at F tier, and I don't really care. Chandler Parsons, to me, is not good. Has the Tyler Hero base, which I'm personally not the biggest fan of, and even within that, like, what is he really giving you on the court? Honestly, not a whole lot. Gallinari, D tier. Decent enough release. Not as good as it has been in the past. He's D tier. He's fine. Can at least go out there and compete. Danny Granger, B tier. He's fine. Fine is all I can really say. Better offensively than AK. Has that release on very quick. I do think that matters, but not super high on him in general. Dean Wade, I mean, B tier. I don't hate Dean Wade at all. I actually think Dean Wade can go out there and compete. I think he's got that release on quick, give you something on the court. Not the highest on the card, though, in general, although he can go out there and compete. Dennis Rodman, I am high on Dennis Rodman. I'm going to rank him above Andrew Wiggins and Brandon Miller. I know people don't like Dennis Rodman's release, and I get it. His release, honestly, is not great. I'm not going to sit here and try to sugarcoat it. His release isn't great, but he does do some things at a really high level, especially on that defensive end of the court. Franz Wagner, B tier. I mean, he's 6'10", gives you a lot at either the shooting guard or small forward position. I do think, like, there's a limit to how good he can be. He is only a pink diamond, but Franz Wagner is very good for what you need him to do on the court. Georges Niang, I mean, I don't know. I'm not using Georges Niang. I don't know about y'all. Are y'all using Georges Niang? Because I sure am not. I don't know. I guess D tier is probably the right spot. I don't know. The minivan in my team, he's probably fine. I mean, six-man Sam probably put him in the game because he is an Iowa State fan for the Bracket Busters set, but I don't know. Georges Niang just doesn't really get my attention. Guy that does get my attention is Gerald Wallace. I think he's honestly better than Dennis Rodman. I'm going to right now put him at S tier. I think he's, at the lower end of S tier probably, but I do think he is S tier. Glenn Rice, way better at the shooting guard position, but at the small forward position, S tier, the top of S tier. Probably going to be the highest ranked card on this entire tier list. Hedo Turkoglu, I mean, I'm going to go A tier. I'm going to go right here on A tier. I don't think Hedo's as bad as people give him credit for being, but I think the big thing for Hedo is people are disappointed when they get him. I think that's the biggest thing for Hedo. He's fine, though, and again, if you did get him for free, I can't really complain with him, but he's just not great. Big Game James, I think, is A tier. I mean, where he ranks on A tier is tough. I do think I'll take Andrew Wiggins over him, Dennis Rodman over him. Probably would take him over Hedo Turkoglu. I think there's the right spot for him. Julius Randle. I don't think Randle is that bad. I'm going to throw him at A tier. You guys can hate me if you want, but I really don't hate the card at all. When I've used Julius Randle, I've actually had a decent amount of success with the card. I don't necessarily love his release, but defensively, he is very stout, really, really solid in my team. And offensively, he does enough to be at A tier. Kawhi, I'm going to go B tier with Kawhi. As time's went on, obviously, Kawhi, I don't want to even say outdated, but he's got less and less valuable, yes, less and less useful. Still, though, Kawhi can play, can compete in my team. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. KD at this stage is bad. D tier. And I know some people are going to be mad that I'm putting KD at D tier, but KD is not good in my team. I don't care who you ask. Cash Money Chris Middleton, I'm going to go B tier. Bang average. I mean, he's fine. Can go out there and knock down some shots. Has a tray leaner. Like, going to do some things on the court, but I think B tier is the right spot. Lamar Odom, I'm going to go low A tier. To me, similar, like he is taller than Julius Randle, but I think he's similar. Randle's got a wider player model player, but I think Randle's stats are better as well. A tier is probably the right spot for Lamar Odom, but I do think there's a limit to how good Lamar Odom truly can be in my team. Larry Johnson stinks. I mean, F tier. I'm sorry. I know he's free. I know people want to hype up Larry Johnson, but the card is not good in my team. Lowry Marketing. Man, I like Lowry. I really like Lowry Marketing. I'm going to go A tier and at the top A tier. He's 7 feet tall. He can knock down shots. I mean, is he going to be a lockdown defender like a Dennis Rodman? No, but I'm telling you, Lowry can go out there and compete. 7 feet tall, going to knock down shots, give you more offensively than a guy like Dennis Rodman. For me, A tier, and I don't even really think it's a debate. Like, if you don't have him at A tier, it's a you type of problem. Big Bron, A tier. I'm throwing him right in this type of range. I mean, I still do think I'd take Dennis Rodman over him, but I do think, he's better than a guy like Andrew Wiggins. And this is the prime example. Like, if you have the better Galaxy up with LeBron James, obviously he's S tier. Obviously you're wanting to run him, but that's why I just don't include gambling cards, because it's like, if you need help ranking them, that's kind of your fault. Michael Beasley up next, A tier. Right in there with James Worthy. I go back and forth between Michael Beasley and James Worthy all the time. Both cards are really good, and both cards are cards like if you have, you probably should be running. Michael Porter Jr., either at the top of B or low A. I'm going to go top of B. Man, I honestly feel bad for Michael Porter Jr. Like, with what's happening in just, the playoffs coming up and with everything going on in his family, like, I definitely feel bad for Michael Porter Jr., man. Prayers out to him and the entire family. Like, obviously, I'd never wish that upon anybody. So, prayers out to MPJ and my team. I got him at B tier. OG Anunoby, I like OG. Wherever Kawhi is, I'm not ranking people at B tier. I just think that's doing too much. But I do think OG is really solid as far as a 3-and-D player in my team. Paolo Banchero, I like Paolo a ton. Top of A tier, man. Top of A tier. Him and Lowry Marketing, I could go back and forth on. I do think Paolo overall does give you just that slightly little bit more. But again, both cards are cards I do like and will rank highly for the rest of my YouTube career. Like, both those cards obviously can play and compete at a high level. Paul George, probably like him more at shooting guard. I'm still going to go upwards, or the upper tier of B tier. I know I'm not ranking those cards, but really do like PG, like him more at that shooting guard position than that small forward position, though, in my team. Rashard Lewis, I don't know. Honestly, I've never used Rashard Lewis. I've played against him, and he seems like a bona fide scrub every single time I play against him. BI is too low for me on this tier list, though. Like, I slander BI, but he's B tier. He's not that bad. Rashard Lewis is not good, though, in my team. RJ, you're not very good either. Like, RJ just stinks, man. And it stinks because I don't remember exactly what year it was. I want to say 2K19. We had a Richard Jefferson card that I really did enjoy using. Like, I enjoyed using the card, and I feel like since then, RJ just has not been good in my team. I want him to be good. He just hasn't been good, and it just stinks that I have to hate on a card who I really do want to like. Rui Hachimura, right there with Poku at B tier. And for a pink diamond, B tier is a really solid tier to be at. I want to make that known. Like, Rui can play at an extremely high level in my team, both offensively and defensively, really solid. Scotty P, nah, I'm not talking about the Dark Matter Scotty P. Again, Dark Matter Scotty, so good. Like, I still have Glenn Rice at my very top, but like, all those cards are obviously S tier cards. Pink Diamond Scotty still has a good release, still gonna defensively be really good. Definitely B tier. Terry D, here's a tough one. I think lower edge of S tier. And I like Terry. He's probably actually better than Gerald. I just wish he was a little bit taller, man. And I mean, maybe I'm being too picky, but he's only 6'7". Not everybody loves the MJ fade. I actually like the MJ fade more than most people. A lot of people really don't like the card. I don't mind Terry at all, but a lot of people really are struggling with the card. Thorough, at this stage, I mean, B tier. Is Jonathan Isaac on this? I want to make sure. Jonathan Isaac, I don't think is on here. I know a lot of people are getting Jonathan Isaac. He'd be at B tier as well. So I know he's not included on this list, but he would, for me, be a B tier. I think Jonathan Isaac is really solid. And I know people, at least, I don't even think he's on boards anymore. Maybe he is. People were getting Jonathan Isaac quite a bit. Tyrus Thomas, lower end of A tier. I know a lot of people really like Tyrus Thomas. I think he's better at the 4 than the 3, probably. Still really solid. I do think he is deserving of A tier. In my opinion, though, I got him at that lower edge of A tier. Xavier McDaniel, just don't. Xavier McDaniel a couple years ago, I think, was 6'9". He was like a mini Giannis. At this stage, he's not, though. He's only 6'7". His release is on normal timing. He's not what he once was. And again, a lot of these cards that used to be good in past years are just no longer good. And is it sad? Absolutely. I wish these cards still were really good in my team. They just no longer are. It's that simple, that easy. Zach Randolph, Zebo. I don't really know. I haven't used the card. I'm going to put him at B tier just because I don't know. Like, I don't know. I grind for most of the free cards. Zach Randolph, one of the cards I definitely did not grind for, though. Zion Williamson, I'm going to go B tier. I know he's only 6'6", and a lot of people dislike Zion because of that. And honestly, guys, I'm going to be honest. I get it. Like, if you don't like Zion because of that, like, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't get it, because I do. Like, he's only 6'6". For me, it's tough to use a card that at this stage is only 6'6". But what does Zion do for you? He's got his release on very quick, which is solid enough. His movement actually is pretty good, pretty solid. I think Zion does enough for you to put him at B tier. Amari, no questions asked. One of the best small forwards we have in the entire game. To me, obviously, I can't put him over Glenn, but after Glenn, I mean, he's up there. S tier. Now, obviously, if you're talking about gambling cards, there's probably better small forwards, but Amari is so good in my team. I want to see what that release is like on very quick, because I'm sure it is absolutely outstanding. S tier for Amari Stoudemire. Peyton Watson. I love Peyton Watson. Lower end of A tier. You guys can hate me if you want. He'd be higher on the shooting guard list. Peyton Watson, I've always loved him. Amy Peyton Watson, I've always hyped up. Pink Diamond Peyton Watson, no different. For 42,000 MT, one of the better value cards in our entire games. James Jones, better at the 2 than the 3. I mean, just look at it, the lack of defense. I mean, that's really what's kind of glaring to me with James Jones. And again, I don't want to hate on the card, but I do think C tier is the right spot. Kenya Martin is solid, though. Like, Galaxy Opal Kenya Martin can play. And I think he gets discredited because he's in the Bullet set. Not necessarily the biggest hype beast. But Kenya Martin can absolutely go out there and play and compete for you guys in my team. Definitely a card that if you got, you can absolutely run. Like, if you grinded for Bill Russell and you were like, Ty, can Kenya Martin play? My answer is absolutely. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That card can play and play at the highest level. That's going to wrap it up for our tier list today, guys. Only got 4 guys at S tier. And honestly, if you want me to be honest, I don't even like Terry and Gerald Wallace at S tier. So I'm going to move them down. Like, Honestly, even at the small forward position, I think Paolo's better than Gerald after I'm looking at things. I think Amari and Glenn are deserving of S tier, but after that, I'm going only A tier. Again, any of these gambling cards that you guys want to include on this list, like, I'm just going to rank them for you quick. Jason Tatum would be S tier. Jimmy Butler probably S tier. Sean Kemp probably S tier. Adam Morrison, as much as hate as he gets, S tier. Scottie Pippen, S tier. Larry, S tier. So it's like all these gambling cards would be S tier. That's why I don't include them on my list, because it would just be boring to me. But that is going to wrap it up for our small forward tier list today, guys. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments. Who was I too high on, too low on? Who did I leave off the list that obviously deserved a spot? Jonathan Isaac was one guy that I recognize that I left off that I probably should have included on this list. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.